Welcome to our 63rd monthly Zoom presentation. As we embark on our 6th year of Zoom SCA presentations, we can all be very proud of the amazing library of recordings that we are building. It's truly a testament to the diversity of the roadside. I am Brian Gallagher, the president of the Society for Commercial Archeology, and proud to be your host for tonight's presentation. We welcome all our guests and any new people we have with us this afternoon and this evening. We're happy you took the time to watch an SCA presentation, and I hope you enjoy the show. And for anyone watching the recording of this episode of the SCA's monthly presentations who is not a member of the SCA, we earnestly ask you to consider joining. Funding for the various activities of the SCA comes almost exclusively from our membership. Just visit our website at www.sca-roadside.org and follow the links. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our presenter. Rolando Pujol is an executive producer for WABC TV Eyewitness News in New York, where he oversees the station's original content and helps chart its digital future. But when he's not toiling in the newsroom, he's usually trawling for history along the American roadside and sharing his work on social media and his Substack. Armed with a camera and a fondness for history, Rolando has spent many years traveling the country telling the stories in words and pictures of the places Americans grew up with: mom and pop diners, corner candy stores, the burger stands, and ice cream parlors for his popular blog, The Retrologist, and a social media account. His newly published book, The Great American Retro Roadtrip, is an adventure into the heart of a uniquely American strain of ingenuity and creativity, told in 320 pages and hundreds of photos. And I might mention that I have just received that book and it is excellent. Now, in his presentation, Rolando will share how his new book came about and how he approached putting it together. Then he'll take us through the book, sharing some of his favorite photos and stories from each of the book's chapters, which are organized by geography. So Rolando, could you share your screen with us and
Absolutely.
give us your presentation?
You got it. All right. Give me 1 second here to get sorted. Right. Okay. I'm going to do a presenter view here. And then going to do it on, actually, hold on. Full screen view. Present. And let's see here. You don't see anything yet, correct? All right. Hold on a
You have to
moment.
click share
Yep.
screen.
Yep. 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 One more. Hold on. I'll get it. All right. Let's see here. Share. Okay. Let's see. I think you're not seeing that you're seeing one portion. Let's see, it's not the one that I want shown, but let's see. Can you
Oh,
see that?
yeah, we can see it, but we are only seeing a bit of it.
Oh, I see. Got it. All
Top
right. No,
part. Oh, there
no.
we go. Now we're seeing
Is
it
that
all.
good? We're,
We still
we're
see,
seeing it all? All right, great.
but we
Awesome.
still see all this stuff along the top.
Yes, yes. Hold on a moment here. I'm trying to let's see. Nope, that's not helping. You're just seeing me there. Hold on. Give me a moment. I'm working with one computer, so that's giving me some difficulty, unfortunately. Stop share. Let me try this again. Let's see. Okie dokie. All right, thank you. Do you want to start again, Brian, or we're good to go? I can just dive right
Oh
in.
no, we're good to go. Let's
Yep.
go.
Okay. All right, let's go. So behind the wheel of the Great American Retro Road Trip. So thank you all for joining this evening. I appreciate it on this nice August evening. So I'm going to start with a little bit about myself. These are some moments of me on the road over the past several years while doing work for this book. Some of these places may be familiar to you. We've got Abe Lincoln in Niles, Illinois, not far from where the Leaning Tower of Niles is, which is not in this presentation, but is in the book. We've got the Big Fish Supper Club in Minnesota, and of course the Brooks Catsup Bottle in Collinsville, Illinois, the Paul Bunyan hot dog in Atlanta, Illinois. We're going to talk about Atlanta, Illinois in a moment, a very important place. And Carter Sexton, artisan material since 1944 in North Hollywood, among my favorite places anywhere. So the road to publication, how did this all come about? That scene there, by the way, that is in Wapiti, Wyoming, and that's on the way to the Grand Canyon. I'll tell you more about why I was there momentarily. But all of this came about. Really, what led up to it was years of posting on Instagram. I've been on Instagram since about 2012, and before that, I was on. I had a Tumblr, which I initially called the Metrologist, and that's where that term first came up. And the Instagram over the years, I slowly grew an audience there, and then during the pandemic, the audience grew a little bit more, and I got sort of like a lot of feeling there was a lot of enthusiasm for the work I was doing, and I was certainly enthusiastic about it in the middle of the pandemic, and it was clearly was filling a need. People wanted to see more from these places as we were all sort of like tied up on at home in quarantine, and the account sort of grew. And a couple of years after that, I started a Substack, which has been a great experience. It allows me to share my stories a bit longer, a little more in depth, interesting photo essays I can do and things of that sort. But in the summer, in the fall of 22, I heard from a publisher, which was an incredible surprise, and who expressed interest in me, publishing a book, Artisan Books, and they're a division of Hachette. And of course, you don't say no to such an opportunity. You absolutely grab it. You never know. When such a thing will come again. I had long thought about writing a book, and now here was my chance to do it. So I was not going to pass it up. And the final result of that was the book that you see here, The Great American Retro Road Trip, which hit stores on June 24th. And so now we're entering our second month. It's been just a great experience so far, sort of sharing it with the world. And been getting a lot of interesting and great feedback. It's been just really a marvelous experience. And the reason I wanted to write a book, because I many times, as much as I thought about writing a book, I said, do I really need to write a book? Does the world need another book on this subject? And I think the answer is yes, in part because sharing all this content on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, different platforms is great and wonderful in the moment. But what's the future of these various platforms? I don't know. And there's a very good possibility that these platforms won't be around or will change, or I'll decide I don't want to be on them anymore. So the importance and the permanence that comes with writing a book, I thought was absolutely vital. And so for that reason alone, I said, let me write the book. But what was I trying to accomplish with this book? For me, it's really about celebrating, preserving, and supporting these places. There's probably not a place here, perhaps maybe the chains, but in terms of the mom and pops, this is not a big margin business. And I want to do whatever I can to tell the stories of the people behind the places and celebrate their history. And hopefully, this will lead to more people getting out there and traveling and seeing the country. And I think it's a great time as well with the 250th anniversary of the nation coming up to really get out there and see, this wonderful slice of America. So I'm going to break down the book and how I organized it. My breakdown was basically by geography. And then within the geographic sections, I had different subject matters that I explored, and then I had sidebars that I sprinkled throughout. Here's how I organized the book. We basically went into about 10 regions from New England to the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, South Central, Southeast, so on and so forth. The Midwest was really complicated because it's so big and there's so much. And so I sort of divided it into Midwest and Heartland, which can be a bit redundant. But for the purposes of organization of the book, I felt that was one way to go. California, I struggled with in terms of where to put it. Desert Southwest, the West Coast, where does it go, right? And so, because it is so big and so diverse, so I actually gave California its own chapter. And once I did that, I immediately heard from folks who grew up in Texas who were like, "Oh, why didn't you give Texas its own chapter?" But maybe I will if there's a second edition. So that's how we organized it by geography. And so what I'm going to do for this presentation is rather than take you across the country organized by geography, I'm going to do it by a subject matter, by the subject matters, the subheadings that I use in the book in most every chapter. And the very first one here is roadside quirks. And what you're seeing here, in case you're curious, this is the Apex Automotive, and it's in Fromberg, Montana. And I took this photo the morning of my last trip. Right before I had my final deadline, December 1st. So it was a nice little find, and I wanted to get it into the book. So I'm starting with something that's near and dear to my heart. How did I get into this stuff in the first place? I got into this roadside Americana at a very early age. I probably started noticing this and caring about the roadside when I was 4, as many I'm sure on this call did when they were younger. You had an appreciation for this. The muffler man that you see on the left, wearing BP colors, that muffler man is in Elmsford, New York, off of 287. And I've been seeing that big guy my entire life. I've always loved him, was always intrigued by him. He's missing an arm. At one point, he was missing 2 arms. And that particular statue and a couple of other spots near me where I was growing up. I grew up in Westchester County, New York, in Terrytown, Sleepy Hollow, in that area. I still have family up there. And there was a great sign for Holiday Inn. There was a Bear automotive sign, the Smiling Bear. There were a variety of these things, old Chrome diners from the 30s and 40s. And that sort of inspired the interest. And when these places began to go away, that's when my interest sort of doubled down, and I began to realize that they were ephemeral and that they perhaps needed to be documented. So on the right here is another giant man from created, by the way, by International Fiberglass, the Venice, California-based company that was around from the early 60s into the mid 70s. It produced hundreds of these things across the country, and they were used in various different settings. Muffler Man is often mentioned because many of them were holding mufflers outside of automotive stores. But the one on the right you may recognize from The Sopranos. This fellow is the Wilson Giant, Wilson Carpet in Jersey City, a heart of Sopranos country. Next slide, we go to the American Giants Museum in Atlanta, Illinois, where we do find that other muffler man that I showed you earlier, the Paul Bunyan holding the hot dog. That particular gentleman had been up in Cicero, Illinois for many years, and had been down in Atlanta for a while. So it made sense to to open the American Giants Museum in this town, an important town of Route 66. And Joel Baker, whom many of you may know or know of his work, has done a remarkable job documenting and saving these giants and creating new excitement and interest around them. We're going to talk a little bit later about one particular community that's seeing a resurgence in giants. And in the museum, it's well curated. You can learn a great deal. We get to see the head of a Mortimer Snerd, a happy halfwit, and also a giant woman, a uniroyal gal with a sort of Jackie Kennedy-esque kind of bearing to her. But it's a very, very interesting museum. If you've not been to Atlanta, Illinois, I strongly suggest you make it out there expressly to see this. Next is the town that I was talking about. This is in Tulsa. And the woman in the middle, standing right next to Buck Adams, the giant cowboy spaceman, is Mary Beth Babcock. And I had the good fortune of meeting her back in October on one of my research trips for the book. She is doing an extraordinary thing along 66 and others in the community out there as well, in terms of celebrating the heritage of the road. Next year is the big 100, of course. And I think the creations here, the big giants that she's bringing to town, initially Buck Adams, and then later Stella Adam, and then Meta Gold Mac, and another one that's coming to town. It is super exciting. And you would think these attractions have been there forever, since the 60s and 70s, but indeed they come from her fertile imagination and her excitement and love of the road. Indeed, Buck Adams only went up in 2019, the work of Mark Klein. So it is really, really cool. Check it out when you're in Tulsa. Stop by her store, and there's other stores as well, an antique store across the street. She's in an old Pemco gas station, and just absolutely wonderful. The reason I was out in that part of the world in October was I wanted to get to the State Fair, Texas and Dallas, and I wanted to meet Big Tex. who's been lording over the fairgrounds since the early 1950s. Although this gentleman that you see here is a little bit younger. He's actually from 2013. There had been a previous year a terrible fire that destroyed the original one, but he was rebuilt, and as you can see, he looks absolutely great. If you haven't been to the Texas, the State Fair of Texas, it's in September and October, and I'm so glad I went. It was an extraordinary experience, and there was a lot more roadside right there on the fairgrounds, including another neon cowboy who used to be in front of a liquor shop in town, Centennial Liquors. So definitely worth going out there and enjoying that American tradition. Right here is one of my favorites, and she's often billed as America's first roadside attraction. She is Lucy the Elephant of Margate City, New Jersey, right there on the beach. She is just one of my favorite attractions by far. She dates back to 1881. At one point, there were three of them, and she is the only one standing. She is the goat. She was designed by a fellow by the name of James V. Lafferty, and by the mid 20th century, she was it, and the only one standing. And thankfully, people came to her rescue, and in 1970, and she's had a very bright future since. At one point, they were using her for, I think, Airbnb purposes for rooms, and she's just special. You know she's special if she's been if you know a roadside attraction is special and unique. That's been featured on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which Lucy the Elephant has. So love seeing her. She was recently her skin was recently restored, and she's in great shape. Here's a who's who of great roadside Americana. Holy moly, this is the good stuff. We've got the Big Duck in Flanders, New York. We've got the Haynes Shoe House, the Coffee Pot in Bedford, PA. Bob's Java Jive out in Tacoma, the world's largest teapot in Chester, West Virginia, and the Teapot Dome gas station, no longer a gas station, but it was for many years in Zillah, Washington. And these are each great icons of the form. Form follows function. And I am particularly fond of the story because it's a neighbor. It's not far from where I live. The Big Duck. It was basically created by duck farmers, and it was initially a place where they sold ducks. Today in the belly you can't get eggs, but you can certainly get your hands on all kinds of rubber duckies and all kinds of other memorabilia. And there's a nice display of some of the Big Duck's roadside brethren from across the country. The farmers who built the Big Duck are said to have gotten their inspiration for building her from a visit to a giant coffee pot, and I very much suspect it might have been the coffee pot in Bedford, PA, along the Lincoln Highway. One of my favorite stops, and the world's largest teapot, another great gem on the Lincoln over in West Virginia. Really, really, if you haven't been to Bedford, it's great to get out there. The great old golf station is still there, which is mentioned in the book, now closed sadly, but a beautiful example of polychromatic chrome. It's just a beautiful tile, polychromatic tile, and terracotta tile, and it's just a beautiful spot to visit out in Bedford. Moving on, we are now in Ohio, and we are at the Big Basket, and this is indeed shaped like a Longaberger basket. This went up in the 1990s at the height of America's obsession with. With Longaberger baskets. You'll probably remember a time, I certainly do, when these were very popular. They'd go for big money on eBay during the early days. America was definitely having a Longaberger moment, and so they built this $30 million, 180,000 square foot structure, and it really is a sight to behold. You probably haven't heard the name Longaberger in a while, and that's not a surprise because they went out of business some time ago. I believe the name is still around, and perhaps there's some capacity, but the business, as we remember it, is no more. The building is, of course, just sitting there at last check, still vacant. There have been proposals about what to do with it, but it remains sort of this giant folly out in Ohio. Right next to it is a dear friend of the road, the Big Fish Supper Club in northern Minnesota. I love this thing. I visited it on the same day that I also visited Paul Bunyan and his babe Ox and his Ox Babe right down the road. These are two very, very special stops. I've known of this particular roadside attraction for decades because it's featured, of course, on in the opening segment of National Lampoon's Vacation. So where they show a number of great slides of postcards from roadside attractions across the nation. So this is really a very special one and truly near and dear to my heart and featured in the book. Orange World is one of my favorites by far. It was a creation of a gentleman by the name of Eli Zappi, and he had moved to Florida, to the Kissimmee, the area near Disney in the early 70s, trying to make a go of it, running a business down there. He had a gas station, began to do souvenirs and realized that souvenirs was really where it was at, especially in the shadow of Disney. And then by the late 80s, he came up with this and he had this built, this gigantic, orange. And it is truly a sight to behold. Nothing can prepare you for the sight of it until you actually see it for yourself. And there's a giant wizard right next door. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful little stop and couldn't recommend it enough. I wanted to mention real quick the Circus Liquors, the Evil Clown of Middletown in Middletown, New Jersey. This is one that you really want to get to if you haven't gotten to yet, because it's always been somewhat endangered, but the liquor store has left, and there is talk about redeveloping the shopping plaza as there has been over the years, but plans are advancing for developing housing on the property, and the future of the clown, at least as far as I know, is uncertain. I can't imagine something untoward would happen to this clown. I think it would be probably bad juju if you did anything to harm this clown. I wouldn't want to be on its bad side. But again, we know that things that are unthinkable can and do happen all the time on the road. Right down the road, there was the old Circus Drive-In, which sadly is no more and demolished, and the sign itself was put into municipal storage. And it was kind of a when photos of it leaked recently, it was kind of a bit of a sad sight. Continuing in the Northeast, we head on up to Vermont and Queen Connie, a gigantic gorilla who is holding a Volkswagen Beetle. This was put up in 1987 at Pioneer Auto Sales, and by the owner of a car dealership there who worked with a Florida artist, TJ Neal, who works in concrete, and they collaborated on this very, very inventive roadside attraction. It is by far one of my favorites up there, and not something that you necessarily associate with Vermont, but there it is, quite special. Next to him is in the state that is labeled a small wonder. We have a big monster that is Miles the Monster, and it's on the NASCAR track down at the Dover Motor Speedway. Miles dates back to 2008, and he was installed to celebrate the racetrack's 40th anniversary. He is a sight to behold. I really, really love him. And yeah, scary as he is, they've been kicking around for years, playing with the idea of Miles and the monster. There at Dover, and there was a plan in 1990, a newspaper article I found where there was talk of Miles being a T-Rex, but I think this little monster here is far scarier. So there we are. There we are in Delaware. Sticking with monsters, we have, of course, the orange dinosaur in Saugus, Massachusetts. For those who know that area, Route 1, it is one of the great wonders of roadside Americana. So many places we have lost along Route 1 in Saugus, but many we still have, like Kowloon across the street. But we still have the giant cactus from the Hilltop Steakhouse. But we also, thankfully, have this marvelous orange dinosaur, who is on Instagram, by the way. I was honored that he followed me the other day, and he is a survivor from a miniature golf course that was on the property. Now it's housing and development, but they were smart enough to leave our friend alone. Sticking with actually going back to this screen, we've got the vernal dinosaur. I went through all kinds of trouble to get to Vernal on a very, very tight deadline that I had on a trip back in November, but I really, really wanted this beauty in the book. She was once outside of a hotel, and the Dinaville Motel here in town, which has a dinosaur park, and eventually when the motel closed, she was saved, and she became essentially the town greeter. And this is a nice photo of her with that nice morning light. She lost her tail last year, believe it or not, in a car accident, but it had been fixed by the time I shot her in November. So there's one of my favorites. We are now in the Cabazon Dinosaurs in Palm Springs, which they were recently celebrated and in the news because Pee Wee's Big Adventure just celebrated its 40th anniversary, if you can believe it. And there's a very important scene filmed here at the diner, which is sadly no at the restaurant that was on the property that is sadly no longer around. I think it's appropriate that when I visited Claude Bell's creation back a couple of years ago, they were dressed in Flintstones gear for Halloween and wearing a Flintstones paint. They're painted routinely because right next to it we see Dino from the Flintstones, and Dino there is a remnant of the Bedrock City Park up in Custer, South Dakota, the biggest survivor of that now defunct park, closed back in 2015. And recently he was painted and restored, and he looks just great. Now we go, when people ask me when I'm in a pinch and they say, like, what's your favorite spot? I gotta say, I love Bedrock City. This one is still with us. It is down in near Williams, Arizona, south rim of the Grand Canyon. And it's at a place now called Raptor Ranch, but they've maintained the Flintstones air, and you can definitely explore the grounds. It is just absolutely wonderful and a great deal of fun for anyone who grew up watching that cartoon back in the 1960s when it first aired on ABC. One of my favorites by far is south of the border in aka Pedro, Dillon, South Carolina. This is another one of those seminal places that helped shape my interest and fascination with the road. My parents are Cuban and Cuban immigrants, and we would routinely in the summertime take road trips down from New York to Miami to visit family. As all good Cubans do at least once a year. And midway between New York and Miami, more or less, is south of the border. And so we would stop here routinely. It is still around. It has sort of this ersatz Mexican theme, sort of playing off its location south of the border. It was created by Alan Schaefer, who was initially in the beer distribution business, and then he's been called one of the greatest most creative marketing minds of the 20th century. He created this rest stop, and it's one of those places that you're more excited about getting to than you are when you actually get there because of the excitement and the anticipation that is created by the billboards that you see up and down 95 and maybe on 301 and some other roads in the area. There used to be a great many more, at least, or so my memory would suggest. One of my favorites is the one right here. You never sausage a place. You're always a wiener at Pedro's. That's south of the border. I almost died taking this picture because I pulled over on I-95. Not recommended. Do not do what I did. Speaking of using billboards as marketing, roadside marketing, let's talk about Wall Drug. This is really it. This is where it kind of all begins. Wall Drug, very, very big deal. Wall, South Dakota, the Houston family, Ted and Dorothy and son Billy, they moved out here in 1931 to make a go of running a kind of a dusty old drugstore. They're having a hard time of it, and they've been at it for several years. Dorothy has the idea that what if we put a sign out there on the road and promising free ice water if you come and visit Wall Drug. One of the great iconic innovation stories of the American roadside. And indeed, they put that sign out there, and they didn't know what to do with the business as it came in. And from that little drugstore, they were able to build essentially what has become a roadside empire. It's a very, very special place, and I love it. There is the free ice water, which I always have when I stop by. And there I am toasting Wall Drug with my very precious cup of free ice water. And of course, I also left with a "Where the heck is Wall Drug" bumper sticker for my car, as well as I do every time I'm out there. Very, very special place. Now, this giant jackalope, the mythical cross between an antelope and a jackrabbit that is never been sighted in the wild, but is said to roam the roadsides and the American West. This is a 40-foot tall jackalope piercing the sky with he actually has an observation deck up there right above the word "believe" that's carved in there. It's a remarkable job done by Jarrett and Jordan Dahl, and it's fairly new. So it's if you've been to Wall Drug, you might want to go out there again and check out the giant jackalope. This is something special. I wanted to see this very, very badly, and I think it was one of those trips where I was in one place. I was in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I said I have to get somehow to Regent, North Dakota by the morning. And I did some crazy drive, and it was snowy. It was really great, but I did it, and I made it out here to the Enchanted Highway. If you've never heard of it, I strongly recommend having this experience for yourself. It's a 32-mile road leading to Regent, North Dakota, where there are these sheet metal sculptures of all various designs, geese in flight, pheasants on the prairie, Teddy Roosevelt riding again. And this here is possibly my favorite from the early 90s, the Tin Family. And these are all coming from the brilliant mind of Gary Greff. Who is mechanically inclined, obviously, but was never trained. And he has a big heart, this guy. He wanted to come up with an idea to put his town, whose economy was suffering, on the map, and I think he has succeeded because here it is in a book, and we're talking about it. So I really couldn't recommend the experience of the Enchanted Highway. It will leave you enchanted. Bucky's. You need to talk about Bucky's in the context of roadside attractions, mainly because Bucky's uses a lot of the same marketing techniques of Wall Drug and South of the Border and these other iconic locations. This sign on the left is a billboard that was in New Jersey, where there is no Bucky's. The nearest Bucky's at that time anyway was 581 miles from this location on the Jersey Turnpike. That would have been Florence, South Carolina, where he has moved in. Not far from south of the border, actually, very interestingly. But I'm a huge fan of Bucky's. If you've never been, it's this fast-growing chain based in Texas, started in 1982, and they're known for, again, great. They have a great marketing game, an adorable mascot, and a great experience for the traveler. I mean, many hundred, and in some cases close to 100 gas pumps, clean bathrooms. You can off the floor, great food, and it's sort of a cross between like a Wawa and almost a Walmart, because you can buy all kinds of stuff there. You can have a really full experience, and you'll often see the character walking around as well. So very cool. This is the world's tiniest Bucky's. It's not actually a store, no bathrooms, no place to pump your gas, but you can certainly restore your soul here. This is out in Texas, not far, but somewhere in the area between Sanderson and Marathon in Southwest Texas. It's an art project, an installation placed here mysteriously. It is a thing of wonder. And if you're ever out looking for a Prada Martha, for example, you might want to come here. Big fan of Stuckey's. I don't know if Stephanie Stuckey made this call, but I consider her a good friend, and she's doing remarkable work reviving this American brand. This is a location in Somerton, South Carolina, that's owned by her father and nephew. And Stuckey's is a brand that's on the rise again, thanks to her efforts. And I love finding old Stuckies. The most interesting one, or the original ones, which I have not I've not photographed. Stephanie told me is in Johnson City, Illinois. I'm trying to get out there. I'll probably make it sometime, I hope. But they are really wonderful inside the original buildings, and the cathedral-esque, wood. Ceilings are really quite extraordinary. So lovely to see that brand growing. Just a quickie here. I wanted to include Thunder Bunny. He's in Mitchell, South Dakota. He's just adorable. He's outside of the Thunderbird Lodge, and he had his his antlers were shorn back in the early in the aughts, and they were restored several years later. And now a marker marks the fact that he lost his horns and then got them back. And of course, I was in town not to see Thunder Bunny, as cute as he is, but to see the Mitchell Corn Palace, which is just wonderful. If you've never been, what a wonderful experience. There used to be a number of corn palaces celebrating agriculture in this part of the world. This is the very last one, and this is, I believe, the third one, I believe, that was constructed there. The facade is encrusted in that design there that you see of Bob Barker, South Dakota native. That those are all corn. Kernels of corn. These are all works of art. They change them every single year. Quite extraordinary. Really, the onion domes you see on the roof there came a little bit later, and there's a detail from a street lamp. They take their corn seriously. We are here in two locations here. We've got Plains, Georgia, and the hometown of James Earl Carter, Jimmy Carter. That is the Smiling Peanut, which I had long wanted to see, and I finally got to visit a couple of years ago. It came from a campaign event in Evansville, Indiana, and eventually wended its way down to Plains. It said that Jimmy was not a fan of it, but had a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. But really cool. And Plains is an experience. If you've never done it, strongly recommend it. Checking out Billy Carter's gas station. There's so many antiques and political memorabilia in town. It's really quite interesting. One of the things I picked up in town was Billy beer, an unopened can of Billy beer. And I promise you, I did not have a sip. That would have been the end of me, I'm sure. But nevertheless, an interesting place to visit. And Carter's grave is now open to the public. It opened only recently, and you can now walk the grounds of his home, which for many years it was a simple home, as you know, that he built himself back in the early '60s for him and his wife Rosalind. But it had not been open until his recent death. The home itself is not ready yet, still being worked on. Probably won't be some time, probably a few years, I would imagine, but you can now visit the grave. And then before I move on, that's Mr. Peanut. I went through great trouble to get to Fort Smith, Arkansas. I wanted to see him. I'm a big fan of Mr. Peanut. And he was originally up in Peabody, Massachusetts, but he ended up outside the Planters factory there in Arkansas. This is a big boy. What is he doing in the middle of a field? It's a darn good question. This is the Wapiti big boy, and he was installed here by a local artist and got people talking way back in about 10, a little more than 10 years ago. It's a fantastic and fascinating art project. And to see Big Boy out of context here, he apparently came from Cowboy State Daily reports that he came from a big boy location in California, but you got to love him. He's fantastic. And again, went through a lot of trouble to get a photo of him. My prayers were answered when I finally made it down to Salvation Mountain. This is out in the desert in Southern California. One of my favorite places, an extraordinary place to visit. It is a promised land of sorts, and it was designed by a fellow named Leonard Knight, who was drawn here from out east to create this remarkable testament to love. And it took him a while to sort of get it right. You've got a lot in here, including local clay mixed with straw, and what I describe in the book as societal detritus like telephone poles and tires to give it ballast. But it really is quite a scene to behold, and it's overtly Christian, but I think there's a universal message in its focus on love and togetherness. Nearby is Bombay Beach, which is right there on the Salton Sea, and there's a hardy community of rugged individualists and artists and folks who live out this way, and really enjoyed my visit there, including the Bombay Beach Drive-In and this fun little mural for a little pun there, Dr. Bombay, getting a call from Samantha Stevens, a little for those of you who remember Bewitched, a little play on Bombay Beach. Roy's, of course, is Route 66 classic, and There in the town of Amboy, the town owned by the family of the late Albert Okura. And then in Barstow, there's a smaller version of the Roy's sign at a restaurant there, and also owned by Okura. And but both are worth interesting and worth checking out, especially because you can't currently eat at Roy's, but there are plans to redevelop it, and we'll see how that goes. This is one of my favorite places on the road. This is Topo, Arizona, in Gilbert, Arizona. And from the looks of it, it's got all the trappings of a roadside Americana classic from the 1930s. Not very similar to the Bulldog. Cafe out in LA, but it's not. This was constructed in 2019 by a gentleman named Joe Johnson, who I call in the book a visionary for creating this. The gopher was inspired by the topo in Spanish. It was inspired by his own dealings with the pesky varmint when he worked the fields as a younger person, and he wanted to create this tribute to these roadside places. And you can get burritos and ice cream and oh, how I love it. The roadside eats, of course. Here we it's another section in the book. Top notch drive-in. This is down in Austin. And all right, all right, all right. If you've seen Dazed and Confused, then you know Matthew McConaughey first uttered those famous words here. Um, we go back east to what I like to call the sort of the Slayer's Row of classics on Houston Street. If you've never done it, this is something to do. Walk so you can see all of these three within 10 minutes of each other, not even right on Houston. Katz's Delicatessen, Russ and Daughters, and Jonas Schimmel's Knishes. Just icons of New York, and I felt compelled to include them here. More icons of the tri-state pizza land in New Jersey, which is of course I love sharing this on social media. If you follow me there, one of my favorites and featured in the opening sequence of The Sopranos. Just the other night, I finally ate at Patsy's, which opened up in 1944 and moved to this building in 1954. For good luck, there were some silver dollars tossed at the base when they were constructing this building, still owned by the same family. And this was the place where Frank Sinatra was the chairman of the board, right there on the second floor. It was said to be his favorite place. The Prince restaurant, this was once owned by the Prince Macaroni Company. And of course, you may remember the commercial with the mom calling for Anthony and telling her that Wednesday is Prince Spaghetti Day. This ad ran an awful lot back in the 70s and 80s. That house is still in the north end of Boston. And I was very pleased to visit it, and I mentioned it in the book. Some other interesting roadside eats, the All-American Burger drive-in in Massapequa, New York, and one of two white manas, one with two ends, the other one in Jersey City with one. This one is in Hasbrook Heights and Hackensack, and it is, as you can see, a small diner, and it's been in this location since the late '60s, dates back to the 1940s, and the sliders are exceptional. Oftentimes, when I'm asked for my favorite food from a diner, I'll just default to this place because I think it's just so cool, and the diners are so. And the sliders are really so good. So let's see. Hot dogs, Super Dog in Chicago, in the Chicago area, Norwood Park, one of my favorites, and that's Flory and Maury on the hot dogs on the roof, named after the founders of this wonderful drive-in, the Squeeze In out in Sunbury, PA, and one of my favorite stories, Tale of the Pup, the return of this roadside icon in California, now holding down the fort in West Hollywood. The pup was out of dates back to the 40s. It had been in storage for quite a number of years and finally saw the light of day thanks to the efforts of the 1933 group. They've done a marvelous work bringing back historic restaurants in the City of Angels, Olympia Diner. This is up in Connecticut. It is endangered. It is on the market. If not, I'll have to double check. It may have already been sold. And one of my favorite diners by far. And I finally got this photo of it a couple of years ago with a reflection in the parking lot, no cars. Not easy to do, but grateful I got it. I hope that there will be somehow a good outcome here. Ben's Chili Bowl, one of my favorites down in Washington, D.C. They're currently closed for some renovation work that's being done across the street. but they've been here since the late 50s. Still owned by Virginia Ali, an important Black-owned business, and one of my favorite places to enjoy a shake and a half smoke. If you've never had one, you should definitely do it. Trust me, it's really, really good. Wonderful, iconic location. Sugar and Spice down in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I love the canopy roof on the right there to your left where the cars are, and wonderful neon sign, kind of a bit of a Holiday Inn kind of flair. Just spectacular. Spartanburg is, of course, the home of Denny's, the corporate headquarters, but when in town, go to Sugar and Spice, although I do love a nice vintage Denny's. Down in Miami, a couple of places near and dear to my heart as a Cuban American, La Carreta, which has been around since 1976, a Cuban restaurant, Carreta meaning the ox cart. And then to the right, we have this cute little character. He is Rey de las Fritas, the king of the frita, which is a kind of a Cuban hamburger. And this particular chain was founded in 1979 by a couple that had emigrated from Cuba, and they used to sell fritas back in Cuba, and now it's a small chain in the Miami area. So we do. It's part of the one of the many places that I featured from South Florida. Moving to other parts of the country, of course, Skyline Chili, by far one of my favorites. In
No, just before
Yes,
we move too far to the other parts of the country, we're kind of running out of time. So
yeah, we're getting a little tight here. Yeah, so
maybe
we've got 10
another,
minutes.
well, how about another 5 minutes?
Oh, okay, very good. So I'll put this on speed. On speed, I talk pretty fast. I'll talk even faster.
Okay.
So we'll go through again. These are all in the book, so you can see and enjoy them. There, Skyline Chili, Skyline Chili in Cincinnati, Chili John's in Burbank. Some of my favorite mainstays in Main Street. Stories here are really fascinating. Like there's a great story behind these privilege signs of families overcoming the odds. America's oldest song shop, George's Song Shop, out in Johnstown, PA. Batley's Barbershop, which I visited in Hazleton, PA, back in 2020, and that's Jimmy Batley right there. Sadly, he died like earlier this year, but he worked at that shop for 85 years. A great character that I talk about in the book Society Cleaners down in Miami. Herbert's Typewriters and Bethlehem, PA. The great elephant car washes. There is one preserved from a former location in Seattle, and the one that's actually at an active location down in Rancho Mirage, California. The work of great legendary sign designer Beatrice Haverfield. Now, this one of my favorites is up in Bakersfield. This is the Fisk Auto Child holding a little candle and a tire. Time to retire. Nice little pun. Cheese and stuff in Phoenix, which is staying in business and reopening. I've written about that in my newsletter. Crossroads Motel there in Albuquerque, and this is up the Waybury, an inn up in Vermont, the Waybury Inn, but it was the stand-in for the Stratford Inn on TV's Newhart, and the Stratford sign can be seen inside. The wonderful diving lady of Mesa, she was destroyed in a storm in 2010, but rebuilt and really quite in very good shape at the Starlight Motel. The Magic Beach Motel, which is down in Florida. And unfortunately, it appears to be doomed, but there is an effort to save the sign afoot. Some of my favorites from Wildwood, the Madonna Inn, which I included on this presentation, mainly because this is the 100th anniversary of the motel this year. The first motel opened in San Luis Obispo in December of 1925. So this is a good year to celebrate the motel. On with the show. This is a section of the book where I celebrate everything from radio station buildings to TV station buildings to theaters. And one of my favorites is the WMCA building right there off the Jersey Turnpike, the Senator Theater in Baltimore, the Roxy in Missoula, Montana, which is recreated back in 2017. That beautiful sign was rebuilt, and after this theater had fallen in some rough hands, the KPRK building in Livingston, Montana, one of my favorite towns. And this old station, this old sign from the 70s down in Dothan, Alabama, with the old ABC logo of that era. The Elm Road out in Ohio, in Warren, Ohio. And Sag Harbor Theater out in Long Island, which was brought back from a terrible fire. Sweet stops include Borden's, the Dolly's Candies in Rehoboth Beach, which this is the original sign, which was moved here from its original location down on the boardwalk. Some of my favorite candy shop luncheonettes in America: Hildebrandt's, Lexington Candy Shop, and a Northport Sweet Shop. Some other gems from the road: Federhofer's in St. Louis and Gambino's down in Louisiana. A few more lovely gems here: Lamb's Candies down in Austin, and the Taffy Shop in Estes Park, Colorado. The Sugar Bowl, which, if you are familiar with Family Circus, Bill Keane used to stop here with his family and has contributed cartoons to the menu. Johnson Candy in Tacoma, Mally's Candy out in one of many locations out in Ohio and around Cleveland. The Carousel, we're at the section of where we celebrate bars. Some of my favorite bars in Brooklyn. Skyride Tap in down under the L in Chicago. And interestingly enough, this is a place that the Skyride refers to the 1933, arrived at the 1933 World's Fair. Siegel's in Dallas, up in Westfield, Massachusetts, and then some fast food. You probably heard a lot about the return of the McDonald Land characters this week. I've written about it. Great example out of McDonald's in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and the Big Chicken down in Marietta. This is a Burger King that's not part of Burger King. It is an original Burger King that was not connected to the chain. They had a legal battle, and they are allowed to operate and have no other Burger King within a 25-mile radius in Mattoon, Illinois. I've written a lot about Pizza Hut and their return to their classic looks, and that is the last Pizza Hut sign featuring a Pizza Hut Pete down in San Antonio, Texas, and it's neon. And let's see here, some gems from Roswell, New Mexico, McDonald's, with some McDonald Land characters in outer space. More Roswell gems. An old red and white by McDonald's in Marshall, Texas, which is now sells collages. And the turquoise McDonald's and some once small chains that are down to one location. This is Tacolita in Arcadia, the oldest surviving operating Taco Bell in Santa Barbara, and a little tribute to old school Taco Bells covering a equipment box in San Diego. And this is in the book. These twin Arby's signs, they have since been taken down since publication, but they've been saved by a company named Phillips Signs, and they're down in Seaford, Delaware. And Best Stores, which were catalog showrooms that featured this environmental style architecture. This is in Richmond, and there is a Best Cafe at the local Museum of Art where you can pick up best souvenirs. And a couple of more little gems right here. I'll end with this one. This is very interesting. It's not classic roadside Americana by any stretch. It's an office building. But when I saw it, it took my breath away. I was driving in Tulsa on a Route 66 trip, and it reminded me a great deal of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. Indeed, this building, now known as the BOK Tower, was designed by Minoru Yamasaki intentionally by the developer who wanted his own version of the World Trade Center in Tulsa. And visiting it is the closest thing that you will get to the experience of experiencing the Twin Towers, from the bi-level lobby to the artwork on the walls to the plaza. To obviously the facade. There's great similarity there. So I'll end there. Lots to talk about. I've seeing lots of questions come in. So I thank you, and I wish it could have maybe been a little speedier or a little less comprehensive, but that is a little taste of what you can find in my my humble little book here.
Well, thank you very much, Rolando. That was a tour de force, if ever such a thing existed. I mean, I read the book and you covered it all pretty well. Not all, there's way more in the book. Now, before we get to the question, I want you to take a few minutes to tell us how we can get the book, because I'm sure
Oh,
it's whetted everybody's appetite to read more.
Thank you. Yes. So, there's the path of least resistance, of course, is Amazon. That's there, and all online merchants. But the book is available everywhere you buy books, and I know friends who have purchased it at Barnes and Noble and different places like that. There are mom and pop bookstores that are carrying it as well. And one thing you can do if you want to support a mom and pop bookstore, which of course we all do, is stop by your local one, and if it's there, great, and if it's not, maybe have them order it and maybe send pick up a couple of other copies and put in a good word if you like the book or like this presentation, and we can get it to be distributed to more locations. So various ways that you can buy the book.
Okay, thank you very much, Rolando. And then you have any idea how much it costs if you're ordering?
Yes, it's the book. The title price $35, but I've been seeing it on Amazon for about 26 in that vicinity. But I think it also varies by who you are. But I visit that page a lot, so that could be possibly the reason why it's at 26. But you can probably shop around and find different prices, and I'm sure there's already some for sale and some used ones already, where you could probably get them even cheaper. And if you are interested in a signed copy, you can just reach out to me, and I'd be happy to work something out.
Okay, that's great. And if you need Rolando's email address, you can always email into myself because Rolando is, of course, a member of the SC.
Mhm.
We can forward any messages along. Now we have there's a whole bunch of comments. I'm not going to
Oh boy.
comments because people have been reading them as you've been speaking, but there are some questions
Okay.
too. And actually, one of the things, a comment that I thought was interesting was Michael Pisno makes the comment to get that veterans get a free cup of coffee and a donut at Waldruck, not just the famous or the fabled ice water. So
Yeah, that's correct, and that would have been a great thing to mention in the book, But yes, love it.
now, Alison Engel asks, did you ever compare notes with the late John Margulies?
No, I'm certainly familiar with his work. In fact, he is one of my heroes. I mean, we talk about heroes. John is up there. I mean, my goodness. I mean, the work that he was doing starting in the 70s to document these places, it's just extraordinary to even be part of the same group that he was part of. But I never sadly met the man. I wish I had. It would have been an honor. But I was just starting to get into this in a very kind of motivated way around the time that he sadly passed away.
Okay, all right. Now, I have a follow-up question on that one too. And that is, we had a presentation a couple of months ago from Deborah Jane Seltzer about how
Yeah.
she plans her trips, and it's an absolutely fascinating and highly stylized and organized system to make sure she covers as much territory as possible and gets the signs that she wants. Now, you've obviously are doing something similar. Like, how do you manage to organize and plan these trips?
I saw Deborah's presentation. She sent me some examples. We were talking about this actually the other day. I'm lucky to consider her a friend, to have her as a friend. And what I do is somewhat similar, but I'm not nearly as thorough and thought out as the way that she approaches it. I maintain Google Maps for every state in the nation and also other countries. And on the map, I'll have a little pin with the location I want to shoot and a little notation about whether I've shot it or not, or its current status, or something like that. But that's usually what I do. And of course, so I will open up one of these maps wherever I happen to be in the country, and I'll see what's around me and what I need to photograph. But some of these maps are getting so out of control. They really look like a kid with a really bad case of chickenpox, right? There's just so many dots that I'm going to have to probably find another method to keep up with this. In particular, California, I probably have like 600 or 700 locations on that California map. So I use a system of maps, and also just like relying on memory and knowing where my needs are around the country, the places I need to see.
Okay. Now that's a good segue into a question from Harry Zimmerman. He says, have you ever considered doing a photo study of similar roadside attractions or diners and so on throughout Europe or somewhere else outside the US?
Oh wow, yes, my goodness. I would love to do that. And I am actually looking for excuses, any excuse to see more of the world. Because doing this kind of work, you do a great deal of documentation here, right? And I still have much more work to do in America. I mean, the book is certainly comprehensive, but I know where the holes are. There's more I want to see, there's more I want to share. I got to work on that. And I will confess that I did manage to get to the contiguous, the lower 48, but I did not make it to Alaska or Hawaii. It's hard to do a road trip to Hawaii. You need some additional help from other forms of transportation. But I would like to, if there ever is a second edition of this book or another way of approaching it, I would like to incorporate other parts of the country I didn't get to, and maybe give some areas I didn't quite give their due more of their due, and then Alaska and Hawaii. I've got a lot of stuff I want to shoot up there.
Well, we have members in Alaska and Hawaii too, so they'll be.
Oh, yes, yes. You'll be hearing from me.
Now, the last question I'm going to give, and there's a lot of comments here. You can read them all because I will send all this to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
But it says, and I have to admit, I had the same question myself. Andrew Kaplan asks, he loved the presentation. He says, "What was that Art Deco radio station you just showed? WKRP?"
It was my special tribute to Lonnie Anderson, who who just died. I think Deborah put it in the comments, but or somebody put a response. But that is out at KPRK, I believe, and it's in Livingston, Montana, and it is just a late Art Deco structure. In the book, I describe it to. It looks like something out of Flash Gordon. It's just incredible, and it was put on a historic on it was put on a historic list to preserve it back in the 70s, which wasn't that it wasn't had not been along that much at that point because it is really so special. And the vista of that radio station and the mountains in the back, wow, truly one of my favorite sites.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, I'll leave you to read the rest of them. We're going to end
Yeah,
off now. And I just want to thank you again, Rolando, for a most remarkable presentation. And
thank you.
I know we've barely scratched the surface, but boy, what a pool of resources you have there. I'd like to also remind everybody about next month when on Wednesday, September 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 Pacific, we will join Steve Spiegel as he details the history of neon in the Disney theme parks around the world. So we'll learn when neon first appeared in Disney parks and how the medium influenced park architecture, visitor experience, and overall storytelling. Now, SCA members will be receiving the relevant details and a registration link for the September talk by email very shortly, and others can register through the SCA website directly. So I'd like to thank everybody who joined us this evening for spending some time with us. If you're not an SCA member, you will receive an invite shortly to join the SCA and enjoy all the benefits of membership. And I'd also like to remind everybody that the meeting will be recorded or has been recorded, and it will be posted on the SCA's website probably tomorrow morning. Our web people are extremely efficient, and anybody can watch it there for no charge. So if you have friends and relatives that have not didn't have a chance to see it tonight, they're not too late. They can still see it. Any final words for us, Rolando, before we go?
No, again, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. When I mentioned to people that I was going to be speaking to an organization known as the Society for Commercial Archeology, they said, "Oh my God, that exists? That sounds like these are your people." And I'm like, "Yes, it exists, and I'm very happy to be among them." So thank you for the platform tonight.
And thank you for sharing your work with us, Rolando. It's really quite remarkable.